Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the special meeting for the Community Formation Commission on November 22nd, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order at 5:32. And Sam, if we could get a roll call, please.
Sure. Commissioner Adam Lincoln. Commissioner Alonso.
Here.
Commissioner Wood.
Present.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here.
Chair Escobedo.
Here.
Commissioner Kim Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Rachel Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Killebrew.
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Present.
Commissioner Reynaud. Commissioner Sander.
Here.
And Vice Chair Zepeda.
Here.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you, Sam. All right. So let's go to public comment for any members of the public that would like to give public comment on items that are not on today's agenda.
Okay, give me 1 second. If there is anyone in the public that would like to speak on any item not on the agenda, please click on the hand raise feature. Let me check. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on any item not on the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing there are no comments, no public comments, Chair.
Thank you, Sam. So we'll go to the administrative agenda. No announcements really, just the announcement that we are going to try and get through this meeting as quick as possible. So I appreciate you all sharing some of your Monday with us. That brings us to B, which is consideration and action on the draft Community Formation Commission meeting minutes for November 10th, 2021. Would anyone like to make any changes to those meeting minutes? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion from Christian. Is there a second? Second from Jordan. Any discussion? Nope. So Sam, if we could do a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Give me 1 second. There's been a motion by Commissioner Alonso, seconded by Commissioner Killebrew to approve the administrative item B. Commissioner Adam Lincoln. Commissioner Alonso.
Aye.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner or Chair Escobedo.
Yes.
Commissioner Kim Johnson. Commissioner Kim Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Rachel Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Killebrew.
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Reynaud. Commissioner Sander.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Zepeda.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Perfect. Thank you. So we will move on to the first item today, which is outreach presentation. The commission will review and provide feedback on a proposal for an outreach presentation that will be used in information presentations to stakeholders. I'll premise this with, this is a adapted version of the presentation that Lizzie and Louisa developed for the presentations that they had given during briefings for Santa Barbara police officers. And we adapted it so that it would work for general stakeholder information sessions. So doing something similar where commissioners can go to key stakeholders and present on what the Community Formation Commission is, what the process looks like, where we're at in the process, and where we're going. Hopefully, this is a good primer for when we're doing our full outreach with the survey and the focus groups. So we can get it on people's radar, and then hopefully it makes it that much easier to get participation when we actually go out to the community. So I will share my screen. And can everyone see that? Okay. Cool. So I think the best way to do this is just kind of go through and show everyone what's on the presentation, give you a general idea of what the flow would be like, and then get possible feedback from, or get feedback from you all on changes that you'd like to make, or if you had any questions about why we included some information. So again, it's just an introduction and a discussion about kind of what it is. The Community Formation Commission doesn't really give much insight to many people. I'm sure you've all experienced this, where people are not sure what that means. So first, just talking about who we are, why we are here, and where we're going in the process. So again, just reiterating that. And what we're hoping is to pair this with some speaker notes so that we're all trying to say the same thing and give the same message as much as possible. But introducing ourselves, and then also introducing the Community Formation Commission, explaining the process, where we're in that process, where we're going, and to provide an opportunity to field any questions that they might have. Giving a brief overview of what the Community Formation Commission is. 12-member commission tasked with developing civilian oversight is the gist of it. A key point that I know I've been asked is, we're obviously not the body that's going to be providing police oversight. We're going to be reviewing different systems, researching. We've already done a lot of this to this point, and then kind of figuring out what type of oversight fits Santa Barbara. The next is introducing pictures of us so that people kind of see that we're just people in the community. Louisa, did you want to add anything?
Oh, Gabe, I saw that Rich had
I
his
just
hand
had a
up.
quick question.
Oh yeah.
I thought we were a 13-member commission. Is that changed because people have dropped out?
Yeah, at the last meeting, we had announced that Mary stepped down from the commission, making it 12.
Yeah, is that, but we have replacements, and that is including replacements?
Mhm.
That is including replacements.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, please let me know if I'm missing anyone's hands up. I appreciate that. So this is kind of just showing we're people in the community. We're here to kind of represent everyone, and pointing that out, that we are a diverse group with different perspectives. What we've basically done to this point, we've had facilitated discussions to try and get the best recommendation possible for the entire community. We know that there are a lot of perspectives, a lot of groups in the community, and we want to incorporate all of those perspectives in our deliberations, coming to an ultimate recommendation that we will send to City Council. The CFC process is just kind of saying that we are partnering with, probably not the best title, we could probably change that to something else, but that we're working with NACOL and also CCI now for the survey portion of this, letting them know that we do have partners that are guiding us through this process. We can talk a little bit about those two organizations. And then talking about the types of oversight models, just kind of brief highlights. This information was taken from a slide that was shared from Cami from one of her presentations that she's used when presenting on kind of oversight models. So the review focus, auditor monitor, and then investigation focus, and then the hybrid, which is basically what we ended up landing on. And these would be followed with what the framework that we decided to go with at, I think this was in August. But
We have a question from Lizzie.
yeah.
Do you want recommend or suggestions as you go along, or at the end? What would be helpful?
I think there's only a couple more slides, so let's maybe at the end.
Okay.
Thank you. So here we would talk about the framework just the general framework, and this is the exact language that we had agreed upon during our meeting. followed by the purpose of the review board, and this is obviously a lot of text, so it would be followed with keywords bolded and underlined, highlighting things like to ensure that SBPD is responsive to the concerns and needs of all members of the Santa Barbara community, building trust, transparency, and accountability, independent, objective community participation in reviewing and recommending revisions to police department policies, procedures, and training, providing a mechanism for the impartial and fair review of investigations completed by SBPD regarding allegations of police misconduct. And then what we're hoping to follow this, the purpose statement is with a timeline, which we're going to talk about in the next slide, or in the next item rather. Cammie's going to talk about a proposed alteration to the timeline. And we would have a slide here that would depict exactly that. And we would obviously focus on the public outreach that we're going to do. Now we can answer any questions that people have. And following that, thank you. And we'll kind of just stick around if people wanted to chat afterwards. But that's pretty much the presentation. Hopefully it's not too long. And I know, I think Lizzie and Louisa, 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes is probably about how long the presentation took. And then
It was about
lots
10.
of time. Yeah, lots of time for questions. So yeah, any feedback, any changes that people would like to make, or they're big or small, I'm definitely open to any feedback. Yeah, Lizzie.
In the two organizations that you said we're working with, I think it's great that we added the what they do, or who they are, but I wonder if we can also add what they're doing for us. So
Yeah.
NACOL is facilitating the meetings, and CCI will be administering and analyzing survey feedback.
That's a great idea. Thank you for that.
Otherwise,
Anyone?
it looks great.
Thank you. You all did an amazing job setting this up, so it was pretty easy after that.
So basically, we're trying to make it as simple as possible for any of us. And I know that, Gabe, we're going to get into that conversation in a minute, but who of us would like to be a part of these and kind of where we want to start doing these. And we'll have kind of a guide of what we want to say that will be very similar. And basically, we're trying to show, teach what this is, because as Gabe said, when I say I'm on the Community Formation Commission, people say, I don't know what that is. So it's basically explaining what that is and what we're doing, and then giving an opportunity for people to talk to us. And that's what this is. So if anyone has any suggestions, we'll gladly take them. Because we are just kind of, Lizzie and I started from something very small, and I would love to see this go out to as many community members as possible.
I guess a good place to start is I totally understand this has been a bigger time commitment than any of us could have imagined, and some of us want to enjoy the holidays, and we do have obviously Thanksgiving this week, and we have December, which has holidays as well. So there is no pressure for those that don't want to partake in these stakeholder presentations, but for those that do, it would be nice to hear from, so that we can coordinate with you to try and get out there and do some of these presentations. Is there anyone that would be interested?
I'm interested. Should we raise hands?
Yeah,
If you could just raise your
best.
hand up and I'll call out your name, if that's okay. We've got Christian, Serafina, Anna, Lizzie, Jordan, Rachel.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. And myself as well.
And
Did
I'm
I-
happy to go with somebody who who's not entirely comfortable with it yet to just kind of get the experience. And I'm happy to have someone shadow.
And me as well. I will be happy to go with anybody who would like to have a partner.
Perfect. So the list I have is Christian, Anna, Serafina, Lizzie, Jordan, Rachel, Rich, Louisa, myself.
I feel
And
like
then-
if it's possible, it'd be great to have everyone do it in pairs, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be more beneficial to have
Absolutely.
partners regardless?
Absolutely. I think it helps us stay in line with the script, but it also helps us be supported. It is a little overwhelming.
And this is a good question for Louisa and Lizzie, because I can imagine that this is going to happen. I know I've been asked questions like, what is the commission going to decide on this? Or what is the commission's thoughts on this particular topic? And so it could get really tempting to, because we're all passionate about this topic, to just talk about that. But did you get any of those types of questions, Louisa or Lizzie? And what was a good way that good approach to navigate those? So we're not speaking on behalf of the commission on things that we're not
Right. That was
decided on.
Mhm. I know Lizzie can speak as well, but for myself, if it got into a place where we hadn't made any decisions about anything, I would say I am not speaking for the commission. Or I would say, answer very clearly that these are the things that we've decided on. Lizzie, did you want to add anything?
In the group presentations, there weren't a whole lot of
That's true.
specific questions. It was just kind of general questions.
Right.
I noticed that afterwards, when I would bump into folks that were in the briefing, and it was maybe like 2 or 3 people or one-on-one, that's when very specific, detailed questions came up. And this happened in the briefing as well. I would just, answer where we are in the process. If we're going to be tackling those types of questions later, and always referred back to, if this is something really important to you,
Yeah.
I encourage you to come to public comment. I encourage you to write in, and just reiterate that we're relying on community, like literally relying on community to guide us through this process. So their questions are great for us individually, but they're also great to add to the conversation during public comment.
And giving them places in which to do that, right? Either the online, to be able to email us or to be able to give public comment, which we can provide all that information to everyone in the guide so that we know how to get it to them.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
I think
Other-
the main
go
question
ahead.
that people ask is, how is this going to affect policing day to day? I think anybody that I've talked to about this topic, whether they're involved in law enforcement or a general community member, that's what their main question is. How is this going to affect policing day to day? And it just leads to further kind of conversation about, the value of oversight, the purpose of oversight, and we won't really see a specific change in policing and day-to-day policing. So I think that's a fair question to be prepared to answer.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions, feedback on the presentation? Louisa?
Gabe, did you want to talk about, for those of you who are interested in doing this, and thank you so much, it takes the pressure off of us a little bit, talking about, it being that ambassador to finding those communities in which we want to do the presentations. For instance, I'm reaching out to communities in my world, in the disability mental health world, to find community locations that we can do, in which we can do these. So we would love any of you to be helping with that as well, to kind of connect us with your communities as we were kind of saying, as ambassadors of those parts of our city. So any ideas or
Yeah.
thoughts that you have would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Louisa. Freedom for Youth actually offered December 3rd because we had already kind of talked about it during our meeting here. So they're open to hosting one December 3rd, which is next week. But that's why I wanted to bring this up right now to see if is that too soon, or should I push it up till the Friday after, or what do you all think?
I think we could totally do one on the 3rd if everyone feels comfortable with the presentation where it's at. I think that's really exciting, having one already on the calendar.
Okay, great.
So do we have to, how are we scheduling these? Is there a central location that we're going to have someone schedule them? If I'm, working, if I'm, for example, with my congregation, do I have to get approval or permission or an okay from the commission to do this presentation?
My personal perspective, and I'd love to hear others, is no. I don't think, I think we want as many people as possible to hear this. And I think it would be good for us to keep tally of it. And then during our commission meetings, maybe we add an item about updates and people can talk about who they presented to and feedback based on those presentations.
I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I'll be the person that helps keep track of all that, as kind of the keeper of the information. I know I'm crazy, but I would be happy to take care of that. So if anybody does, if we want to do it that way, then I can put it in one location and I can present on those items, on that item rather. Yes, Cami.
I just wanted to suggest that, as in addition to keeping track of where you're doing these and the groups, how many, because I think that will be a very good piece of a presentation later to say, at our initial events, we reached X number of people. So just one more number to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
I will start that data collection today.
And I'll help you, Louisa. If you ever need support, I can definitely help.
I'm just wondering if is there any kind of other data that we might, right? Like, I know this isn't going to be a place to do the surveys just yet, but I'm wondering if there's other data that we might want to try to convey about these meetings back to CCI or something, right? Because I feel like we're going to get some questions and feedback that would be like what we're thinking about on the survey. I don't want to make it too complicated on people. And I definitely don't want, Louisa, you to have to track data to then pass on, but I'm curious. Maybe I could I have to send information back to CCI about some other questions. Should I let them know, kind of describe this process to them, and then maybe they'll have some thoughts on that?
If there's a specific way they want me to collect the data, I would be happy to set that up in a way that's simple. But
Okay.
that could be potentially useful to them, because Cami is right and you are right. I don't want to lose out on potential, being able to, really track these questions and, and who we're reaching. So if there's a way
Okay.
that I can do it better, I will gladly take that information.
Yeah, I'm gonna write to them. I've got an email drafted. I'm sending them tomorrow, so I'll add this little piece to them and see if they have anything
Okay.
to guide us.
Perfect. So I know that we have, Louisa, you had mentioned connecting with people in your network for professionals who work in disability rights and mental health.
Mhm.
We have Freedom for Youth. I think, not to speak for you, Rich, you would be a great ambassador to connecting us with people experiencing homelessness and other people that work with SBAC. I'd love to join you on that one if you'd have me. but what other sort of organizations or groups? I mean, it's kind of endless at this point. I've thought about neighborhood associations,
I
the
think victim advocates groups like domestic violence, sexual assault,
STESA, yeah, standing
Yeah,
together
thank
for
you.
sexual assault.
the victim witness.
We had also talked about business or owners and things like that.
Rachel, would it be appropriate to have a webinar for SBCC?
Yeah, I've been trying to think of different ways. I mean, on my list, I kind of had thoughts of, I wanted to present to like, we have like our like the president's cabinet and our managers meetings, and then do specific outreach with like EOPS and certain student groups, like our CESJ and Emoja groups. But I mean, a webinar is kind of an interesting thought because that would be easy to get a larger group to. So I feel like actually, yeah, for like SBCC and that broad community, that's a great idea. I can look into how we might schedule that.
And would this be appropriate to have TVSB or City TV do a video?
yeah,
We can ask them. Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so if you want to incorporate City TV, we would just need the dates as far in advance as possible to see what their availability is like, and then we can kind of coordinate as needed.
I definitely am very interested in doing one at, I mean, I would like us to do one at the El Centro, like Lower West Side Community Center, and maybe find that on the east side. But I mean, I'd love to do them, but I am not comfortably enough bilingual. So I definitely want to partner with someone who speaks Spanish and doing some of those.
Yeah, I mean, I can partner with you with that, Rachel, since I'm part of the board. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to do El Centro.
Yeah.
awesome. And again, these I'm sure we can think of a long, exhaustive list. But does everyone feel like, obviously we can probably go through and make some edits. Lizzie, I have your edit on the presentation. That's a really good one. But for the most part, does everyone feel pretty good about the presentation? Perfect.
Yeah, I think we want to keep it as short and simple as possible.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that we're set up to start doing some outreach. We'll continue to work on the document for speaker notes to provide just an additional resource for the presentation. I'm sure as we do more of these, we'll need them less and less. But awesome, that sounds good. And so the process will be, if we do schedule any of these, to just let Louisa know so that she can document them.
Where, when, numbers of people, maybe particular questions that were asked. If all that information can be sent to me, I will keep track.
A description of the group, maybe.
And I just, yeah, perfect.
Wait, so I'm sorry. So did we finalize for December 3rd? So I can send that description and everything too. Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right,
and
perfect.
And we'll share this presentation with everyone after this meeting so that everyone has it and it's good to go. Make those just minor changes.
Can I
Chair,
ask? Oh,
just if you'd like, or the commission would like, we can also post that on the commission's website as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Sam.
And then if it does get posted again, I'm sorry, but can we put it in Spanish? And then the agendas haven't been posted in Spanish too, so I keep forgetting to email. So if we can start doing that again, please.
Got it. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you for elevating that. We definitely need this in
Um,
Spanish.
Yeah, I was gonna say, never apologize, Anna, for reminding us that that's something we said we would do. I was just gonna offer as well, since I've got surveys on my mind, would it be useful, maybe like, and I don't mind doing it, just drafting a couple guiding questions for the folks doing the presentations, like, did you notice any particular questions being repeated? Right? Like, so that when they pass information back to Louisa, it's a little bit more formulaic. Like, yeah, will that help
Yes,
you,
please.
Louisa? Okay. All right,
Whatever
I'll
you-
draft that out. Yeah. I was just thinking about, I know this will make it easier. I'll do like a little mini survey for us as the presenters to sort of capture stuff. And I'm sure CCI can, I'll send it to CCI. They can tell me if that works well.
That's amazing. Thank you. All right. Any other comments, feedback? All right. Then I think we're good. John, do you feel need for there to be a motion or anything?
No need to be motion. My only point I would add is that if we're going to go past the March date, I know we want to give an update to council, so we should at least notify council if we meet to them prior to that we're going to probably do a recommendation past the March date if there's a need for that. Just a reminder. That's about it.
Yes, thank you, John. And that's a perfect segue for us to close out this item, and I will stop sharing. And for us, oh, actually, is there public comment, Sam?
Yeah, give me 1 second. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item, outreach presentations, please raise your hand in the Zoom feature. If you would like to speak on item 5, outreach presentations, please raise your hand. There are no public comments, Chair.
Thank you, Sam. So we'll close out this item and we will go to item 6, which is revision of CFP timeline. The Community Information Commission will revisit the previously approved timeline and briefly discuss potential changes. So I will throw it over to you, Cami.
And Cami, I just made you a co-host, so you should be able to share. You're muted, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Gabe. So we thought that it would be, before I share the screen, we thought it would be a good idea to maybe take a more realistic picture of where we are in the process and what the steps are going to be to complete it. So I have put together a draft timeline alteration between now and actually April of next year. There are a couple of things on here that were question marks. So I'm going to go through it and kind of let you know my thinking behind it. We can get some feedback and then talk about any alterations you might want to this. So, I mean, really, after today, November's done. So, but still, you know, hopefully it now looks like the first educational session, listening session for the community will be in December, most likely. So we can move that down. Discussion on decision on specific effective oversight recommendations, which also then goes into December. And then I know that the survey is really, for all intensive purposes, complete, other than the couple of questions that really rely on the finalization of the draft recommendations. So my thought process is that we could move that into January, the end of January, that completion of the survey. But my thought is that December is going to be a difficult month. It tends to be a very busy month for people trying to close out the year. And I know that this is an add-on to all of the rest of the things that you do. So I did not want to get expectations too high that we could do a ton and make a ton of progress in December. However, I do think that we can make a lot of progress on the drafts that then are going to go to the full commission, and that then in January, there will be a lot of work on going through those drafts by the full commission, the drafts that come out of the working group, so that those can be finalized by the end of the month. Then one of the big questions we have, I'm going to skip to February and the survey piece. The amount of time that you think that the survey needs to be in circulation to get a good sampling. And I think that that's a very big piece. And I put this in here as if we were going to send out a survey on February 1st and finish it up at the end of the month. And that may be completely unrealistic for the survey working group and their thoughts on this. The other thing for February was the development and the execution of the community cafes, because we'll have the final recommendations in place, those can be presented, and the cafes can take place. Then in March would be the review of the survey data, discussion and finalization of the final recommendations that will be presented to City Council, development and a run through of the City Council presentation, and the presentation of the final recommendations in April. One of the things that I think might be very important, no matter, we do need to discuss certain elements of this, that we can continue to work on having a realistic timeline in place. I do want to suggest that whatever we decide on today, that at the end of January, we look at it and we reassess. Because I really think a lot, whatever, we're depending on a lot of things happening in January for us to be done by April. And, you know, sometimes things don't go as quickly as we think they're going to. I also want to say that as we're talking about this, January is probably going to be a very busy month for this work. But February will be perhaps slightly slower. There won't be maybe the number of full commission meetings where you're sitting and discussing all of the recommendations, which is a very intense meeting to be involved in. So I'm going to leave it there, and I am certain that all of you have some feedback on this. And I would like, even though I really want to recommend that we reassess in January, I still would like to try and get this one as realistic as possible. So maybe we start with the survey piece and some feedback from that working group on how much time they think is reasonable to have the survey out.
I think it depends on how active we are in presenting information, because the survey is meant to get feedback. And if we are productive and we are busy and we are doing multiple, you know, presentations each a week, then I think, you know, in addition to the TV, you know, videos and having access on, you know, online, then I think it seems reasonable. But you know, that's we need to really hustle in January if we want to get this feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like that's going to be the moment where us as ambassadors to all the different communities we're trying to represent is going to be huge. Because, right, I think each of us as individual commissioners is going to be needing to do follow up with whatever groups we're sending it out to, right? So having the community cafes, obviously those are going to be concerted efforts where the survey will be part of it. But, you know, from, you know, if it's mid-January through end of February, where we're repeatedly pushing it out online on the, I don't know if, you know, we've talked about radio as well, right? Like, I think that's going to be a lot on just us as individuals.
Mm-hmm. And we also want to keep in mind that as we're reviewing the data coming in, if we notice that a specific demographic is missing, or we're just not having a lot of feedback from that demographic, then we're going to go back out and make sure that we reach them. So I think we'll want to, in March, in the reviewing survey data, or maybe even in February, want to consider that we will probably have to go back out to community and get more feedback.
Okay. Do you think that, so my thought is that you will not be able, if you have to have the final draft recommendations for the survey to go out, I don't think that you'll have those before the 1st of February. I mean, you'll have them after the last meeting in January, but I don't know if you'll be able to send the survey out before the beginning of February.
Yeah, well, the purpose of the survey is to get feedback on the whole list of recommendations. So if we're not going to have that list prepared, then I don't think that the commission should send the survey out if we only have half the information, or not even half. If we don't have the full list of recommendations, I don't think we should send out the survey.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, obviously the survey's going out with, language about how this is a draft recommendation. We are soliciting feedback with the assumption that that feedback is going to help us change those recommendations. But yeah, I mean, I do think that could mean that there are parts of the draft that are not totally complete. I mean, like, is there a possibility that at the first meeting in January, would we have like a partial recommendation, or do you really think the timeline is we won't really have enough of a complete picture until the end?
Well, I'm just thinking about, I mean, at the last meeting, when we talked about composition, now granted, composition is a very difficult piece of the whole puzzle that you're putting together, but your conversations are so thoughtful and careful and considerate that they're taking time. And you've got some you've got board and monitor relationship discussions to be had. You've got training, authorities. So there's a lot more to discuss. And I'm concerned that I don't think that you'll be able to get through all of that in 2 meetings. If you have one in December and then one in January, at the beginning, the first meeting in January. I think you're gonna need at least 3 meetings that are solely dedicated to those conversations, at least 3. And I think they're gonna be long conversations.
So Cami, does that mean also, I mean, if we do one meeting in December and give people much deserved break, I guess the idea of having 3 meetings in January, or even once a week, but I would love to hear feedback on trying to knock it out after getting an extended break at the end of the year, and then trying to knock it out in January. Then hopefully February is again more relaxed. Is that kind of what you were thinking, Cami?
Yes.
Are there any thoughts about that from people?
So I think the main timeline that we want to consider in all of this is when the city starts doing budget conversations, when we start holding budget hearings and and specifically with the police department. So if there's somebody on city staff here who knows approximately, I think this year it was in May. But if we know what month the police budget hearings will be held, then we know for sure that we want to have our recommendations to the city before that time. Otherwise, I don't want to rush the city, the community presentations and the feedback. I think if we need 2 months to do that, we should take 2 months to do that, because that's the key. We are solely reliant on community feedback to tell us what direction we should go. And if we rush this for the sake of just keeping to a timeline that's arbitrary, I worry that we're not gonna do, justice to this.
I mean, one thing I'll say is I definitely support everything that you just stated, Lizzie. I do have a concern about this has been a lot more work and time, and I'm afraid of people burning out right as we're getting towards the end if we extend it too far as well. We've all done a really good job, and we've put in a lot of time and effort, and I don't. So that's just one thing that a concern I have. But Ms. Bjork, I see that you're on the call. Lizzie brought up a good question about timeline as it relates to the budget.
Chair Escobedo, I'm sorry for not having video tonight. I just didn't get that quite figured out with my remote location. But yes, we usually do our budget presentation starting in late April and into May. But our budget is presented by the administrator, which will be me, in, I think it's March. So if ideally, the recommendations of the committee could be included into the city presented administrator's budget. Otherwise, they need to be council recommendations to changes to budget.
Thank you for that.
So I think that I do think that there is still quite a bit of work to do. And I will say that the reason that there's quite a bit of work to do, and I know that I've said this to all of you before, is because you are doing this with such care that it really should be held up as a model for other cities. All of you are going the extra mile to do this in a way that is thoughtful of the recommendations themselves, but also thoughtful of all of the other members of the community. I mean, those pieces are really important to all of you, and they take time to do them well. And so, although I do see kind of the immediacy for making sure that this is part of the next budget discussion, I mean, there is a very good reason why this is taking a little longer than expected, and why, I mean, you all have put in a tremendous effort, and because of that, you will have a better product. Absolutely. So I think that if people feel comfortable that there will be kind of this brief respite in December, there will still need to be work done by all of the working groups that month, so that when we come back to do the work full force in January, that all of the drafts that you will consider can be done. I think that would be very important. And it really just kind of depends on, I mean, we may get to training and all of you are like, yeah, this looks great, and we move on. But I also, I don't want to rush that conversation, because I mean, what we ended up with composition is better because of the conversations you have. And even at once you make the recommendations, there's still going to have to be, there's still process after that. You know, an ordinance has to be written and it has to be passed. And so there are lots of things that are going to take a lot more time after you do your recommendations as well.
Yeah, that just makes me think that this, to get something done before March to get it on this year's budget seems a lot. And especially like you're saying, Cami, with what needs to happen in terms of an ordinance written, and if we want proper community support to be backing this, I think like if it takes us longer to make that happen, I would much rather come in full force with community support saying this is what we want. And like I don't know if as Rebecca mentioned, it's much more difficult to get city council to change their current budget. But if this just needs to be something that we work on for next year, I know that would be disappointing for a lot of us, but I still think that it seems like I wouldn't want us to rush things now just to meet a budget hearing, just so that we can try to rush something through without giving it the proper due diligence. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Any other comments, feedback?
I was only going to just make the comment. I wonder if there's a way for the city to take this into consideration in the budget, even without the details of like setting aside a particular amount of money. And it might not be the most precise amount, but it would mean that we could take more time and give it the actual time that it needs, and it still doesn't set us back in getting started on the actual work once we have the recommendation.
Chair Escobedo, it's Rebecca again, excuse me. But yes, that you could present a placeholder as part of the police budget saying we think it's in this magnitude, and then they could consider that at that time. It would be more difficult for them without understanding what the details are. What it would do is to set aside the money without committing the money, so that they would still then reserve the right to actually obligate that money based on the final proposal.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Ms. Bjork.
Just out of curiosity, Rebecca, would that be a placeholder in the general funds, or would that be a placeholder in the police budget?
Chair Escobedo and committee member Rodriguez, that would be, they are one and the same, the general fund and the police budget. The police budget is completely general fund funded, so it has the same obligations.
So would that mean that perhaps in January, we can have an assessment of where we are and how much more time will be needed? That information after that January meeting can be taken to city council to tell them about how much time will be needed and the request for a placeholder, or the commission's request or desire for that placeholder.
I don't think yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I don't want to preclude committee discussion.
I don't think the January meeting is where we need to do the placeholder, but I think we could definitely reassess our timeline at that point, and then probably in March, when they start developing the budget, that's when we want to make sure that we have an approximate idea for a placeholder. Cami, would it be possible to add that budget placeholder in March? That way we make sure that we don't overlook that important detail.
Escobedo, I weighing in on that. I think that would be great, especially if you return to council about that point in time with an update on where you think you are, so they have an opportunity to weigh in and give you feedback. I do believe, especially since they had originally given this committee a timeline of replying, I believe was in March.
That sounds great. So I do know that we promised everyone we would try to keep this meeting to about an hour, but I don't want to cut us off too soon. Is there any other, is there more feedback for us on the timeline? Cami, did you need any other feedback on some of the parts that we haven't discussed to this point?
No, that's all I need. I'm gonna make some adjustments to it and then I can send it all out to all of you. So that you have a copy of it and make sure that, and then you can email me directly with any concerns or questions that you still have.
Thank you, Cami, for setting this up and for always being an excellent facilitator in these discussions. All right. Sam, is there any public comment for this item?
Let's find out. If there's somebody in the public that would like to speak on item 6, revision of the CFC timeline, please raise your hand. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on item 6, revision of CFC timeline, please click on the hand raise. There are no public comments.
Thank you, Sam. So we'll close out that item, and the last item is future business. And this is just, I think for our next meeting, we're basically going over draft language and doing working group updates. Don't believe that we have anything else, right, Cami?
Nope, that's it. As far
Okay.
as I know.
Will I be part of the working group update as talking
Well,
about who's
the pre-
presenting? So I'm
Yeah,
a
we'll
new
have,
working group.
we'll have a different, like an update.
An item.
item.
Okay. Just making sure that's on there.
Thank you for the reminder. And Lizzie, did we cut you off?
I'm a little confused when our next meeting is, because I'm not sure would it be 1 week or 2 weeks from today?
It's going to be December 8th. So we're going back to our regular rotation of the second and, well, I guess for December, it might just be the second Wednesday.
Okay, December 8th.
So December 8th at 5:30, we'll go over draft language. We'll get some updates. And yeah, we'll be able to enjoy perhaps a long break after that. All right, so we will close out future business, and we did it. We were a minute late, but we got pretty close. So that's pretty good for us. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Be safe, make good decisions. I'm very thankful for all of you. This is a pretty special group, so thanks for everything.
Thank you to
Thanks,
the
everyone.
outreach group for all of your hard work as well, and survey as well. It's moving along.
All right,
Little by
everyone.
little.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.